Hey guys, Mr. Bowman here. Today's learning objective is in white and we're learning to identify triangles by their type. So we're looking at the types of triangles today, and I guess the best way to do that is, well, let's list them all out. That way we know exactly what we're aiming for. The first type of triangle you might come across, something called an equilateral triangle. You also may come across isosceles triangles. And the third and final type of triangle, a scalene triangle. And this is a bit of a weird one. In addition to these three, it may also be like a bit of a bonus type of triangle. It may also be one of those right angle triangles, which are actually going to be really, really important. So it is going to be one of these three, and in addition to that, it may be this as well. Now, to figure out what type of triangle you're dealing with, you have to be focusing on the geometric properties of each of the triangles. And the two things you need to look out for to make these decisions are the sides, or how long the sides are. So I'm going to write length of sides. You may need to look out for the internal angles. And there's also going to be this other thing called some kind of notation that might suggest something about the sides or the angles. So we're going to focus on equilateral triangles first. And equilateral triangles are triangles with, they've got three equal sides or internal angles. I'll draw us an example of what I mean by that. So we're focusing on equilateral triangles up the top here. Equilateral. So if I've got a triangle here and all of the sides are, let's say, 5 meters, that there is us looking at the lengths of the sides, and we can say that that is an equilateral triangle. We're not interested in the angles because we've got enough information around the outside of the triangle to find that out. We can also talk about the internal angles, as I mentioned. So this is the second thing, internal angles. An equilateral triangle, all three angles are going to be equal, which comes up to 60 degrees exactly. So if you see a triangle with three internal angles of 60 degrees, you know that that's going to be an equilateral triangle. And this last one is notation, and this may be very new to some of us, but some triangles will have a dash on the line like this, and that tells you that that's going to be the same as other sides with dashes. And this third side here has a dash, and you can see all three of these have the exact same dash. So some triangles may have 2 dashes or 3 dashes, but because they've got the exact same dash combination, that notation tells us all three sides are the exact same, which means that's going to be an equilateral triangle. We can also check none of the angles are 90 degrees, which means they can never be right angles. So we're now going to move on to isosceles triangles. And these here have 2 equal sides or angles, or internal angles. So let's draw some isosceles triangles to get our head around it. So we've got isosceles over here. Our first one here, maybe we're focusing on notation. That's our last one, so notation. And what we can see is these lines tell us these 2 sides are the same. There's nothing about that bottom side, which means that's going to be a different length. And that could be, or that is an isosceles triangles. You could also look at maybe the sides of that. So let's say this here is 10 centimeters, that there is 10 centimeters, and maybe this here is 8 centimeters. You can see 2 of them are the same length. That's also going to be an isosceles triangle. And then finally, we can have one that's looking at the internal angles. Let's say this here is 90 degrees, and this here is 45 degrees. Oh, I forgot to put my angle symbol there, and that's 45 degrees as well. We can see 2 of them are the same. That's going to be an isosceles triangle. And something interesting about that last triangle is this one has a right angle in it, 90 degrees. So this triangle here, that would be an example of an isosceles triangle. Plus, it's also a right angle triangle. So it's not always going to be the case, but sometimes isosceles triangles will be both isosceles and right. Okay, and our final type of triangle, scalene, and this is when they have no equal sides or angles. Okay, so let's have a look. We've got scalene. So everything's going to be different for these scalene triangles. Maybe we'll draw one with angles first. So let's say this here is 60, that there is 70, which makes this one here 50 degrees. So we can see all three of these numbers are different, which means that's going to be a scalene triangle. Just a reminder, if one of these is 90 degrees, that is going to be scalene and a right angle, but this time around, just a scalene. We're then going to look at maybe notation. We could have dash, 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 dash. You can see all of the dashes, different combinations, which means no lines in common. So that will be a scalene triangle. And our final one, let's say that there is 10 centimeters, 15 centimeters, and 9 centimeters. We can see all of the lengths are different, which means that's going to be a scalene triangle. The very final thing I want us to recap in, I'm just changing pen colors to emphasize this, is the big important thing, right angle triangles are going to be really, really important for the next topic coming up. And just a reminder, they are triangles that have that 90-degree angle inside. So that's really, really important. Something that we chatted about a little bit, but make sure we get that down as well. So thanks so much for watching for this video on the triangle types. Now let's get into practice identifying different types of triangles.